All right, we'll get started. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining on this morning. It's our first ever drop in and learn. I want to give credit to David for coming up with the idea. And just as a quick background of why we're doing this, is it's an opportunity for us to learn something about the sales process or being a sales rep within Wallside Windows. So once a month, we're going to come up with a topic. The idea here is to have a conversation with a handful of reps about a topic that's relevant in the daily life of a sales rep. And it's designed to provide something that's beneficial and as a learning opportunity for everybody on the call, and hopefully give everyone an opportunity to be part of the panel as well at one point. This is something that's whether you're able to join in during the allotted time, or we're recording it so you could log on later and listen to it. The idea is an opportunity to drop in if you have the time and come in and learn. It's an opportunity. It's definitely not mandatory or required. We're not going to be providing any bits of information that is necessary for turning in paperwork or product information. This is more trying to expand everyone's knowledge as a collective group with thoughtful conversations, especially in a digital world where we could do that in a more efficient way. So I'm looking forward to the first one, and hopefully I'll be able to learn something myself. I'll pass it over to David to kick us started, and a special thank you to Mark, and Scott for your participation this morning. And I'm looking forward to listening and learning as well. So David, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So we have set up some grilling questions for these gentlemen here. I'll introduce them here in a second and then let them talk. At the end, I'll open it up for everybody else. If you have any pressing conversations, this is a little different than the normal Zoom. You can actually raise your hand. There's a little hand at the bottom, or you can type a question in the chat, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, I'd like to start with Scott Lambert. So Scott, he's been with Wallside Windows for 16 years. He has 3 children. He used to do a lot of the training here at Wallside as well. Prior to Wallside, he worked for a very large corporate retailer where he's had some very high level training. He's actually overqualified for Wallside, which is kind of a joke, but very true as well. So we're very lucky to have Scott on the team. So Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Why have you been with Wallside for so long?
Well, in the corporate world, you go through a number of restructurings. So I was actually offered a move that I really didn't want to take. So I knew Mark Lampinen, and Mark had kind of been recruiting me, come work for Wallside. So, I was a little hesitant at first, but so to cut my teeth in the window business so I'd know something about it, I went to work for Champion in Cincinnati. They're pretty large window. They have their own manufacturing. They're a little bit similar to Wallside. So I worked there 2 years, and I was lucky enough to be, I think, number 2 in sales production my second year, which was I said, I can actually do this. So I made the move to Wallside, and my first 8 appointments I sold. So, Stanford was, hesitant to bring me on. I don't have enough work, he told me. And, so I really got off to a great start. And then, it just propelled me, to be successful at Wallside. And, I actually increased my income. I lost my company car, but that's okay. Okay. So 16 years, with Wallside, it's been a great career. And, when you think about it, if you're going to work for someone, work for number 1, don't work for number 2 or number 3. And Wallside has such a strong brand They're kind of like a category killer in retail terms. So, you know, what a great company to work for, because you've got that 76-year history and you know, name recognition, and so that's really why I joined Wallside and why I'm still here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next on the panel, we have Mark Abels. Mark is one of three on the team, one of the three Abels. Mark and Steve are brothers. Both their father and uncle worked for Wallside since the 90s. Mark went to CCS. He also was in the Air Force, and he has been with Wallside for 26 years. Mark, same question to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and Wallside, why you've been here for so long?
Yeah, well, even though I've been with Wallside for 26 years, I've actually been selling windows for about 35 years. After I got out of the Air Force, my father owned a small window company, and I went to work for him. And I kind of give the analogy that it's kind of like you got a little hardware store and they open up a Home Depot across the street. You know, you kind of just migrate over and go to work for them eventually. And like Scott said, you know, don't pick number two, pick number one. My uncle had been working at Wallside, Michael, and he actually helped me get a job over there. And it's been great ever since. I love what I do. I like who I work for. I have a lot of respect for the Blank family, and I've never even thought about doing anything else.
Very cool. Yeah, that's, thank you for sharing that. So finally on the panel, we have Mark Lampinen as well. So he's part of a family team here. He's been with Wallside for 32 years. His claim to fame is that he was the last hire of Mr. B. He came from the car business where he was a fleet manager and a sales manager. He's a great guy to talk to about the power of building relationships. And he was also in the Air Force, same as Mark Abels. So Mark, what else should we know about you and why have you been with Wallside for so long?
Well, I fell in love with Mr. Blank Sr. As you said, I was his last, or at least one of his last interviews. What a kind, gentle soul Martin Blank was. And he gave me resistance just like Stanford gave Scott when Scott wanted to come on. It was pretty much the same. It was like Mr. Blank said, you know, I've got 20 guys. I got enough leads right now to take care of my 20 guys. I really don't have a spot for another guy. And he says also to me in that first interview that I had with him, he says, you know, I don't mind it when my guys make a lot of money and they buy their wives a nice car to drive and they live in a nice house, because they're going to have to work hard to maintain that lifestyle. And I just loved the whole attitude from the very beginning. And so I came from, yes, the military, and that gave me the discipline, because you do need self-discipline in this business. You can't be lazy, and you need to do it right every time. You know, so I was a sales manager out of the military, salesman, then a fleet manager, sales manager, and a sales trainer for the Bill Cook Automotive Group. And I did that for about 7 years. When I met Bill Hawk through our wives, they got to meet each other, and Bill Hawk was coming in because his accountant knew Stuart. And that's how it all happened. And when I saw the opportunity, I recognized it, and I fell in love with the owner, and it's been a great way of life. And like Mark said, I've never looked at anything else again. I mean, I just love being a part of this company, and it's very sincere when you're in the house. I mean, the customers can smell an empty box, and when you have this kind of love and passion for what you do, it really comes through. You're not in there as a hollow salesman knocking other companies. You're in there representing this company, and it's a great story to tell.
Great. Yeah, thank you. There is such a depth of experience on the team. I look forward to any time I get to talk with you guys and go through all this. So I'm looking forward to the conversation this morning. And so the topic that we're looking at is the appointment top to bottom. So we're going to run through an appointment, get an understanding of how you guys manage different points of that, and then we'll answer some questions. Someone did type just now, are we able to ask questions? And I just answered your question. Yes, you are. So if you go ahead and type something in there, we'll ask questions at the end. Mark Lampinen, we'll fire the first one at you here. So in talking about the estimate, tell us about your pregame. What do you do, if anything, to prepare for an appointment? Do you do anything to help get into the right mindset? What does that pregame look like for you?
Oh, I've got the right mindset every morning going out. My intention is to help people. So I sell windows by not selling windows. I develop relationships when I'm in the house. And yes, my ultimate goal is to get that sale, hopefully on the first visit. And I do make those closing attempts, but I do it in I lead them without them feeling that they're being led. So I walk in the house. I'm looking forward to helping people. I shake their hand, trying to solve their window needs. I'm not looking to make a sale. And that's a better way to sell windows. Our competitors come in and they're selling them from the first time they step in the door, and they're knocking competitors, and it's a negative sell, and people are turned off by that and always have been. So I look forward, I relax people initially when I walk in the door, some kind, friendly banter. And I'm also looking, I'm leading from the first moment, because I'm looking for the dining room table, the spot where I'm going to sit. You never want to be sitting in the middle of the table with the husband over here and the wife over here, because you don't have any control. They can make eye contact, they're communicating with each other, and you have nothing that you can do about it. So there's a lot of times when I'll see that this is the husband's chair. I can tell he sits here, let's say, for example, and I'll take over that chair. I'll sit there at the end of the table. I'll set my briefcase right there, and I'll grab my tape measure, and I get right to work with them. But I establish control that way. And certainly after 32 years, I mean, I can eyeball almost all windows and know what size they are. I don't really technically need to measure them, but I do, because it gives me time for that key, the relationship, before I get to the presentation.
Very cool. So that's interesting. You walk into a house and you just sit at the head of the table. You just take control of that meeting and you leave from there. That's great. So Mark Abels, same question to you. What does your pregame look like? How do you prepare for your sits, your meetings, your appointments?
I do a lot of the same things that Mark Lampinen does. But sometimes what I'll do lately in the last couple of years, since this is available, is I will actually go onto Zillow and I will pull up a picture of the house to kind of give me a mindset as to kind of what I'm going into, what I'm looking for. Sometimes you can tell from the outside, from the pictures, what type of windows they have. And it kind of just gets my brain moving as to what I have to look for when I'm walking around and measuring the windows. But like Mark says, I always try to position myself at the table where I don't have one person on one side and one on the other. I want them both in front of me. That way you're not looking back and forth. And like Mark said, you have total control over the people that you're talking to, and they can see everything that you're doing. Other than that, I do pretty much the same thing that Mark does. I try to build a relationship with the customer as I'm walking around and measuring the windows. And anybody that's been in our business as long as we don't really need to measure all the windows, but you go around and you measure, the approximate sizes. And as you're doing that, you're talking to them and you're building a relationship, so that when you get back to the table and you do your demonstration and you give your presentation, and then you give them the price, they feel comfortable with you, because they're not just buying from Wallside, they're buying from you. And that relationship is super important.
Cool. And So Scott, do you do anything different? What does your pregame look like? What do you do?
Yeah, yeah. So when I pull up to the house, I'm looking at, the structure of the house. If it's brick. I'm looking at the window color. I also look around the neighborhood. There's a pretty good chance there's some wall side windows at neighbors' homes. So that's kind of even before I knock on the door. And then, like both Mark said, you have to have overt control and, setting your briefcase at the table. So they're both going to be looking at your demonstration, and then, as I'm walking through and measuring, I'm building that relationship, and I look for things like maybe there's a set of golf clubs in the corner, or maybe there's bowling balls. I tell them, oh, my mom was a professional bowler. So now you humanize it, and, you're creating that, you're a person just like them, and you have some common interests. And so those are the things that I'm looking to do when I get to the house, and then my house.
Very good.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, when you're driving around, are you a talk radio guy, classical music, whatever fits your fancy that day?
I have my iTunes music that's
Okay.
mostly rock and roll, so it's got to
Oh,
get
right. Okay. All right.
gets me going a little bit. So.
Okay. So you guys kind of touched on this, and Mark Abels, I'll start with you with this question. So you did mention you make it to the table, and you try to position yourself where the customer is across the table from you, or you have some control. But if you could back it up just a minute, you're walking up to the house, you have your pregame kind of figured out. I imagine you're doing the same. You're looking at the structure of the house, the windows and all that. Walk me through that first 5 minutes. What do you say to the customer when they open the door? What's that transition like for you? How do you grab it in the beginning?
I always have a smile on my face. I always say hello. I introduce myself as Mark from Wallside Windows. I come into the house. I ask if we can set up at the table. I get my clipboard out. I ask them pretty much 99% of the time, unless their name is very obvious, to spell their first name and their last name for me as I write it down on the paper. I write the date on the paper, and then I will ask them how they heard about our company looking for a referral. A lot of times they always laugh when I ask how they heard of how they heard about our company. I tell them we do a lot of advertising. I know that you can't miss us if you have a TV, but I'm just looking to see if you know somebody or if you're referred by somebody that has Wallside Windows. And that's pretty much what I do. And then from there I start, like Scott said, I look around the house to see if there's anything of interest we can talk about. And then I say, let's walk around and measure.
Yeah, very cool. And the other Margaret, I know you shared as well. Did we miss anything from the point where you're knocking on the door, you're making eye contact for that first time? What does that look like the first just 30 seconds to 2 minutes as you're moving to the table?
Yeah, you always want to make eye contact with both. Especially, I've been doing this for 32 years, and you definitely want to give equal eye contact to Mr. and Mrs. Do not ignore Mrs. And speak equally to both. Like Scott, when you pull up to the driveway, you're evaluating the house already. For example, I'm always looking at the shutters. Okay, 3 sets of shutters. I know that's $210 I'm adding to the cost before I walk in the door. And I'm also, while being a relationship builder, I'm looking for disclaimers from the very first time I walk in that door. I am Mr. Disclaimer. I've got a disclaimer on just about every deal. And it's CYA, you just gotta cover yourself, cover the company. I had one last night that I walked out afterwards. I sold the job. It was 6 windows, and he had mentioned that there were solar panels on the side of the house. So I thought, before I leave, I better go take a look at that. I walked outside. The whole side of the house, it was a brick house. The whole side of the house was solar panels, and a window was right in the center in brick, right? And so, bam, I walked right back in with the deal, and I said, listen, I got to write up a disclaimer here for you regarding the solar panels. My crews are very good. They're professional. They're careful. But if one of those panels cracks or breaks when we're putting this window in, it's going to be on you to fix it. And then he opened up. The panels have been there for 35 years, and they rarely use it, but it's there. So I got the disclaimer signed. You got to look out for those. You got to cover the company.
Yes, absolutely. So Scott, same question to you. Did we capture it all? What those first 30 seconds, the first 2 minutes, do you always go right to the table, knock on the door, smile, and go from there?
Well, I like to usually compliment their home. Well, you guys got a nice home. And, I'll say, how are your windows doing? To kind of lighten it up, and, they'll tell you. And then the other thing, before I start measuring, I'll say, are you looking for an estimate for all your windows or some of your windows? And they'll kind of lead you in the direction of what they're thinking. And so those are some of the other things that I do in the first minute or so. And then, of course, you're starting to build that rapport as soon as you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask the right questions, especially in those first couple of minutes, okay, like Scott said, are you looking to do all the windows? What would we like to focus on today? And let them talk. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use it in proportion, and you'll sell more windows. There's a lot of great conversationalists that I've hired and fired when I was a sales trainer. They could strike up a conversation with anybody, but they didn't listen. They never stopped talking. You got to listen to the customers. And if you listen properly, they'll tell you what their hot points are and what you can address in making the sale.
I agree.
That's great. So good. All right, so Scott, back to you then. You're at the table. You have that first conversation. You're listening to the customer. You've identified some hot points, some connection points.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the walk around. What happens next in that space between walking around the home and doing your measurements before you're giving the estimate and price? What do you do in that window of time there?
Well, the first thing I do is tell the company story. Yeah, are you familiar with Wallside? And like both Mark said, you have to listen because they'll give you clues. And then you say, Wallside's been in business 76 years. Our factory's in Taylor, and so you tell the company story, and then you tell your story. Well, I've been with Wallside 16 years, and you probably won't believe, but we do 75 to 85 houses every day. That's probably the largest replacement company in America for a single market. And, nobody in New York or LA does 80 houses a day like we do. And so you're kind of telling that company story, and that's important. And then you transition into the demo, and then when I walk in the house, I have my briefcase, which has my tape measure and all my paperwork. And then I have my my parts kit, which is the light, the heat lamp, the corner, so that I don't even take a window in at first. So as I get into the demo, I start to share with them how we design the window, show them the fusion welded corners, everything in the parts kit. We reinforce the window with fiberglass that anchors the screw. So you build value in the product. And then of course the heat lamp. The heat lamp's a wow factor. And then, you know, after the heat lamp, that's when I transition. Well, let me go out and get the window. So I take my parts kit with me, kind of gives them a little breather. Maybe they're talking when I'm outside. I'm sure they are. And then I come in with the double hung or a casement or a sliding window or both. And then I demo the product. And, you know, personally, that's probably the most important thing of the sale, is doing a very good demonstration, because that builds value in the product and they want it, you know. And if they want it, when you get to closing time, you know, now you're just price. So, but so after the company story and then the product story.
That's, I would love to get that on recording. Just seeing you sit with the customer, going through that presentation with them, that sounds pretty cool. Mark Abels, do you do anything different? How do you share the company story, or do you even share it? What does that time look like?
Actually, the first part of my presentation is the company story.
Okay.
And I reiterate over and over again that in the year 2021, there's very few companies that are going to sell you a bad window. And I explained to them that the most important part of this whole project is the company doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that the company is really the most important. You can get a window from anybody, but if it's not installed correctly, if you don't have a company to back up what they've done, even 35 years from now, then they really don't have anything. And other than that, I do pretty much the same thing Scott does. I do it a little differently though. I bring in the window first and I demonstrate the window, and then I go out to the car and I get the heat lamp and I bring it in after I demonstrate the window. As I go through all the features, I explain to them during my demonstration that we have two different glass systems. We have our standard regular low E glass, and then we have our premium I-89. And then I go out and get it and bring it in, and then I go through all that with them.
Very cool.
But that's probably typical. Everybody does things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Scott's obviously more comfortable with doing the heat lamp first. I'm more comfortable with doing the heat lamp second.
All right. Yeah, that's good to hear that that is a huge part in that you guys are able to talk about the different type of glass and show the heat lamp and build that value in our product on there. Mark Lampney, does yours look similar? Do you do anything different?
Very, very similar. You know, everybody has their own angle, and obviously all successful because that's the angle they're comfortable with. I definitely tell the company story. That is a key to the whole talk of initially, how familiar are you with Wallside? Do you know anybody that's at Wallside? Have you used us before? Those type of questions initially. And if they don't have any knowledge about us, I'll go more in depth on who we are and what makes us different. And I really emphasize the fact that our installers do windows for Wallside every day. They don't do roofs, they don't do kitchens, they don't do decks. The quality of the job rests with the quality of the installer. And we're totally accountable as a company. And the key there, of course, with our warranty is that we don't prorate or reduce coverage over time. It stays with the house no matter who lives there. I say today in 2021, you get to 10 years with almost every guarantee out there, there's a huge drop off in what they cover. With Wallside, that doesn't happen. So after I'm done measuring, I've got the rapport established. And what Scott said earlier is true. You're always looking for things, a sailboat on the wall, a golf club in the corner to talk about, to build rapport. By the time you circle around back to the dining room table, you're almost like you have a commonality with the people, that you're real. And you didn't spend any time knocking the competitors. I go out, I see the window that's going to be primary in this house. I bring that in along with the heat lamp. And I wear out my heat lamp. I replace the foam holder for my heat lamp. I call in about every year and a half, I need a new one because they start shredding and coming apart. That's how much I use it. It is the key to getting them emotionally involved in the decision to buy from Wallside. And the way I use the heat lamp, I bring it up first. I put the clear up there with the heat lamp, and I say, now this is pretty close based on what I'm looking at here. This is pretty close to where you are today. Feel that. And then I've had people, even yesterday, sir, I don't need to see this. I don't need this. I said, no. Just give me a minute. I want you to know what you're purchasing. And she went through and she felt it. Then I bring up the Energy Star and I say, no, this is the Energy Star glass system that the EPA recommends for the northern region of America. Feel this one. It's a little better. And I bring up the I-89. I say, now this is Wallside's system. Feel this one. Ooh, that gets the wow factor, as Scott says. That gets them excited. And then I go into how our double pane is really a smart glass system. It achieves triple pane like performance in a double pane. And I go into how that's accomplished. And I just, the only time I ever sell the Energy Star window is if it's a rental property or these people are selling the house, it's going on the market and they just need to fix a few windows. That's an obvious situation. But other than that, I really have a deep belief that everybody deserves our best window. So I also, right now, with the longer delay in lead time for installation, I present my price and everything. And maybe I'm getting ahead of this, where you want to be right now, David.
Oh, no, you're doing great, yeah.
Okay, so I let them know that, listen, we're doing a couple extra things for you in a token of our appreciation for your patience in waiting for a longer than normal lead time for install. You're going to get full screens on all of your windows. We're going to do new Marble-Lite sills for you throughout the house at no additional charge. And you're also going to get 5-year glass breakage. We're talking accidents. We're talking a baseball hitting the window. For the first 5 years, we're going to cover it free for you as a token of our appreciation. If you look at the track record of my personal sales, not that I'm any better than anybody else, but the facts are what they are. I would say 98% of the jobs I sell are sold with I-89 glass and 5-year glass breakage.
Very cool. And so to back it up just a little bit, that was a bold statement saying that the light kit is the key to getting the customer emotionally involved with the sale.
Absolutely.
You're that's.
And if you're not using it, you're really losing. You're at a deficit position because the competitors use it.
Yep.
They do. And if you're just going out there with the window sample on the kitchen table, it's just another vinyl window.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just talking and you're just showing them numbers maybe. They're not emotionally involved. That heat lamp is the key to our success, our presentation.
Very cool. Is the audio coming through just fine for everybody? I had a note that you lost us for a moment. Adam, can you hear us? Okay. Okay, so now we're at the point in the estimate. You guys have done the demonstration with the customer. You've done the walk around. You have the measurements. You have the expectations with the customer. Mark Abel, so you're sitting now. You have the pricing all together. You've gone through the sheet. Can you walk us through that conversation? What does that look like and sound like with the customer, with you?
Yeah, so I have everything written out on my estimate sheet. And I'm a believer in giving them all the numbers. I'll start with the top number, what everything adds up to be before the discount. I will subtract the 50% that I'm going to give them for the promotion. I'll show them that. Then I will actually subtract the 20% for the cash price. And I'll explain to them that, after the 50% off, that price is for our 0% financing program. That's our normal regular price. But if they're interested in paying by cash, check, or credit card, something we've never done before is an extra 20% discount. So that's how I present it to them. And then once I do that, I stop talking and I wait for them to respond. Even if it takes 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, I don't talk. I'm just a believer in letting them think it through, let them make the decision in their own head. If they decide not to go with it, then I go on to the next step, as far as closing, reiterating the importance of the company. Sometimes I'll drop the price a little bit if I see that that's going to be what's going to motivate them to proceed with the project. So that's kind of what I do.
Very good. So you have your sheet in front of you. You run through those numbers. You just present them as fact. Hey, these are the numbers that I came up with. This is the total price for your project.
Mhm.
And then you just pause. You say, so what are your thoughts? And you sit back and just listen.
I sit back and I listen. And if there's a husband and a wife, sometimes they'll be talking to each other, and you can pick up clues as to what they're really looking for, whether it's a better price, whether it's maybe, they're hemming and hawing about the color, anything like that. You're just sitting back and you're listening for clues. And in my sales training over the years, I've been taught to just not say anything until they talk first.
That seems to be a theme, to do a lot of listening. And
I'm a big believer in listening. Let them do more talking than I do.
Mhm.
And I'll pick up clues as to what's going to motivate them to proceed with the project so I can make the sale.
And Mark Lampinen, so what does the paperwork process look like for you? You have your pricing together, and now you have to talk about this with the customer. What does that sound like?
So I hope this comes across okay. So basically, I set up, we base our sale prices off of a retail number. We use a suggested retail number. So that's here. Our buy one, get one is 50% off that number. So you begin with Wallside. Here, retail is 14,000. You begin with us at 7,000. At that number, we can offer you 5 years, 0% money. Your payment's under $120 a month. It's less than what you pay for cable and Wi-Fi. And we fix your window problems. Now, if you're prepared to go cash, we've got a bigger than normal discount. As I said earlier, we're doing a few extra things. Normally, cash discounts are 10 or 15%. We're doing 20% right now. So if you go cash, $5,600. And a little caveat, a little interesting bit of information, if you're into your points or your miles, your rewards on your credit card, like I am, run it through your card, you get the same cash price. We do half down now, the other half when it goes in.
Wow, I'm almost buying windows right now. That was very good. Yeah, thank you. Scott, so same question to you. What does that process look like once you have the pricing together?
So, I'll ask them if they've seen any of the promotions we're running. And I want to hear that feedback because, they may say, yeah, I saw the buy one, get one free and the 60 months interest-free financing. Well, that kind of gives me a clue they probably are interested in the financing. So, I'll present, I'll say that, I'll go over the windows actually. I said, so we have, 12 windows. We have your sliding door. We have grids on the front. The windows will be almond. So I kind of recap everything we've decided to reinforce it. And then I'll say the manufacturing list price is $16,200. And then you saw our half off sale, that puts us at $8,100. And if you're interested in the financing, you could do 0 down, 60 months interest free, and your payments $135 a month. So that's pretty easy on the pocketbook. And, the best part is there's no interest. And a lot of time, and again, you kind of step back and let them absorb it and then, let them talk first. And a lot of times it's a positive close. I find with Wallside's brand, 2 to 3 appointments, or they're going to buy almost no matter what you do. There's a couple that will not buy no matter what you do, but it's that middle set that you've got some negotiation power. So you know, if they, a lot of them have, we've conditioned them. What do you, if I pay cash, do I get a better price? And I always say, well, we're not advertising this right now, but I can offer you additional 10% discount. And that, you know, would be $810. That's pretty nice savings. And then, you know, again, see how they react to that. Now, the strategy is that I've got 10% to play with, you know, because I close a lot of my deals and offer them what I call a discretionary discount. You know, I'm busy. I'd like to take care of business while I'm here. And then, you know, I'll say, I'd be willing to give you a $600 additional discount if you could do it today. And then, boom, it's powerful, you know, if it's presented right. And you look like you're helping people, and you are, and they appreciate that. And then you close a lot of sales right there. So that's how.
Yeah, could you talk about that point just briefly? Because there's a difference between presenting that in a way where it makes it look like you are being efficient and it's a win-win, and then also kind of a negative way where maybe it's pushy or a one-sit close. How do you balance that as you're pricing, dropping the price?
Well, you know, I've had so many people tell me, you know, thanks for not being pushy.
Yeah.
Because you kind of build that whole rapport as you go through your demonstration and you're, you know, getting to know the customer and building that rapport. So if they've had another window company out there, it's a lot different experience, you know, because they're, you know, telling you 5 companies and what they do wrong. And, you know, it's a negative, like Mark said, it's a negative kind of connotation for that. So you've kind of built that all the way through. So offering that discretionary discount doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like, you know, I'm busy, I'm here now, you know, I have to come back. So here's what I'm prepared to do for you. I help you, you help me. And so it doesn't come across as pressure. If you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
A very successful closing technique that I've used forever. So we are all in houses where one partner is very excited about it, and really you can see they're chomping at the bit. They want to order the windows, but the other one is the maybe the money person in the family or whatever. Well, I do what's called the takeaway close. So I'll say, okay, well, now I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a couple of minutes to talk this over. I would highly recommend, if you want them before football season, you want them before the cold weather comes, we're already scheduling for August. There's 50 of me in the field, and we're flat out busy. And the quarantine people aren't going out, they're fixing their houses. And I highly recommend getting in the system as soon as possible so we can get them in while it's comfortable for you. I said, I'm going to bring my stuff back to the car. Let her or let him, let the excited partner talk to the other one. They're more inclined to listen to their wife or their husband than they are to you. Let her or him close the deal for you. I walk out, I give them the rationale to move forward now because the calendar is what it is. And that few minutes, I come back in, I can't tell you how many times I walk back in, the checkbook is on the table or the credit card is on the table. It's called the takeaway close.
Takeaway close.
Yeah, the other, you know, because Mark's exactly right. Maybe the wife is excited and she wants to do the project. My husband's a little hesitant. So, you know, you could also say, well, John, you know, it's okay with Sally. Is it okay with you? So you kind of shift that, you know, back to him. And a lot of times he'll agree with the wife if he's a smart man.
Yeah.
So you could also do it that way.
Very good. So I only have one more question left for you guys, and then I'm going to open it up to the rest of the group. If you guys have questions you'd like to fire at these guys about the closing, about anything, you can locate a little hand on your screen and raise your hand, and I'll unmute you, or you can type a question in the chat, and I'll ask the question on your behalf out of the chat. So last question here. We'll start with you, Scott. So let's say you've run the perfect deployment, right? Everything went well. You've built a rapport, but for whatever reason, the customer is not going to buy. They're saying no to you. You know you've taken it to that end degree. You've tried to handle the objections. How do you exit that home? What do you do to increase your odds for a future conversation?
Well, you know, they may say we're having other estimates, or, you know, whatever the reason. I got to talk to my brother, you know. So, you know, I still have a little room to play with. So I'll take a second drop to try, you know, to try to earn their business while I'm there. So now, you know, maybe I've got $900 on the table for them. If I still can't close it, you know, I'll say, you know what, you're nice people. I'll still give you the $900 discount if you do business with Wallside. How's that sound? You leave it on a great note, and then you write out their estimate, give them the numbers, show them the $900 discount that you gave them on top of the sale promotion. And a lot of times you'll get a call back on that, because you left them with a warm and fuzzy, because that's really what, you know, it's the product and it's the price. And, you know, so that's how I leave it. If I have to exit, you know, I give them the lowest price I can, and I'm at par, you know, and so I'm not leaving anything.
Very good. To follow up on that too, do you have a preference to whether you're the first estimate, or do you like it when the customers have already gotten 2 other estimates and you're the third guy?
Yeah, definitely better if you're the third guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But there's many times that I've canceled the other appointments because the power of the company, the power of the product, maybe the 60 months interest free, you know, I just tell them these other companies don't have it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll look at each other. Well, let's just go with Wallside, and then they'll cancel the other appointments they had if you're first in. So that, you know, you can't be discouraged if they tell you we're getting 3 estimates. I've heard that 1,000 times, and you know, you still walk out with a sale. So.
Yeah. So Mark Lampinen, same question to you then. You've run the appointment. You've reached that point where you understand you're not going to close that day. How do you leave it with the customer? How do you exit?
Well, like Scott said, you always want to leave them with a warm, fuzzy feeling about Wallside, and you always want to leave them with a feeling that they were thankful, happy that they invited Wallside into their home. They were not uncomfortable. Now, if it's a one-legger, you know, there's not a whole lot that you can do other than, you know, if you want to go bring your stuff out to the car, say, well, you know what, based on the fact that we're already scheduling for August, maybe you want to give your husband a call and talk to him, and maybe we can make this decision now and get you scheduled, get your date assigned. That's the most important thing. If it's a competitor, if they're getting competitive quotes and I'm the first one in, I flat out ask them, okay, who's coming out? Who are you having out other than us? And I'll handle it in a factual way. I'll say, well, what I'm about to tell you is factual. I don't knock anybody. Now, when I talk about Hanson, it comes out as knocking, but they're all facts. I mean, they can verify everything I say. So, and I bring it up that way and try to get back into, you still want those other estimates, or would you like to go ahead and move forward now? And if they want those other estimates, you know, that's fine. Go ahead, get your research done. I've had a couple people in the last week that had other companies coming out and left it that way, and I've already written them up as a callback. So we're a good company. We don't have to high pressure close, and I wouldn't be comfortable if we had to do it that way. I probably wouldn't be here. So relationship building, and believe me, everybody's on Facebook and Twitter and social media, and you can't take a chance on making a bad first impression with people. You just can't do it. You know, and I always take every opportunity, every lead seriously. When I walk in that house, the whole Wallside team is on my shoulders walking in with me. And nothing happens at Wallside until we sell a window. And that's my objective.
Very good. And Mark, how does it look like for you? Do you do it, Mark Abels? Do you do anything differently than that?
I really don't. What these two guys have said is exactly what I do. I try to leave them with a warm, fuzzy feeling. Like Scott said, I will drop the price, and then I'll drop the price a second time to see if it makes a difference. But obviously, if they don't want to sign that day, if they're getting another estimate, or if it's one legger, I do tell them I will honor the price that I gave them. Just give me a call when you're ready. And like Mark said, you know, you're on the Wallside team, you've got Wallside behind you. And I reiterate to them again that the most important part of the whole job is the company doing it. And we've got the best reputation in the Detroit metro area and maybe the whole country for that matter.
Awesome. I love that. Leave them with a great taste in their mouth about Wallside and make it a great experience for them either way. That's really good. So we had two questions come through. One specifically for Scott Lambert. Your daughter is putting you on the hot seat here. She asks, you sell the most appointments, you sell most of your appointments in the home on your first call, right? What is the key to your success with that?
Well, it's a lot of things, and Laura, I trained you, so you should know the answer. But yeah, you know, if they like the company and they like the product, and hopefully they like you, then it's really just price. So it's that art of negotiation of giving them a great deal for their business today. And if you build in, you know, an anticipated additional discount that you'll give them, it's pretty powerful. And so many people, I close them on the first visit. And the company's happy, I'm happy, and the customer's happy. So it's that art of negotiation at the close. That's where you get them on the first visit.
So this next question comes actually from Dave Ball here in the factory. So he says, we know the Heat Kit is a big tool for the sales team. Is there something else the factory can provide that would be a big help? Is there a hole that you see in your demonstrations where you think, oh, if I had this particular window or this particular item, I think my presentation might be stronger? And I'll let, you know, whoever, if something comes to mind and you can answer that now, go ahead and field that question.
I can't really think of anything.
I think we've got the tools we need. And if I need something, Dave, thank you for, you know, your help. So many times I lean on you, and I lean on Nicole, I lean on Michelle, I lean on everybody. We've got a great team. And yeah, I don't see anything additional that I need.
Actually, the only thing that I can think of, and I know I have this, and I know Mark has it too, because he asked for it not too long ago, is samples of the casing and stop moldings and those type of things. You know, maybe a sample of what the primer white casing, it's primer white stop molding, those kind of things, what they would look like. Everybody should be carrying that kind of stuff with them. It's not something you need all the time, but every now and then there's a customer that wants a particular type of casing if we're doing extension jams or full bucks. And it's nice to have so that you can show it to them and put their mind at ease that we have what they want.
Very good. All right, so this is going to be a quick fire question. We only have 2 minutes left here. And someone had, Mike Elbert had asked this. How much do you guys think age, maturity, and exuded wisdom, confidence plays into your personal sales? Speak to the guys that are late 20s right now. They just started and, you know, they're in the home. They don't have gray hair yet. What does,
I think confidence is the most important part. If you have confidence, you can do anything. I don't think age matters. I started in my very early 20s doing this, and I had no problem selling windows or home improvement. I think you have to build up knowledge about your product. You have to know it inside and out, especially, and this takes time, but especially what's involved in the installation, what's needed, so that you can talk to the customer with confidence. And if you have that, you don't need anything else.
If you've been on the road for 1 week and you're a new wall side salesperson, you already have more window knowledge than the customer has. The number one thing in sales from a customer's eye, the number one most important thing in a customer's eyes is, do you care about me? And if you're in this business to help people, you're going to win, because wall side's a winner. Get on your horse and ride.
Well, thank you guys so much. I know I've learned a ton today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more or have a further conversation? Are you open to that, and how might they reach out?
Give me a call.
They could call.
Yeah, just call.
Very good. Adam, did you want to say anything before we closed out?
Thank you. That was really beneficial, and hopefully you learned something. I personally did. So it's always great to learn from the wisdom of people that have a combined 60, 70 years of wall side sales knowledge. So, you know, it's definitely great to learn and go through this, and we appreciate the time, and especially everyone that attended. Hopefully you learned something. If you have topics or ideas for future drop it and learns, let David or myself know, and we're looking forward to the next one. So thanks again for taking the time. And as Mark said, get on there and go ride. Have a great Tuesday. Make it a great day. It's busy out there, so go sell some windows.